All right, let's see if you guys can hear me. Looks like you guys can. You should be able to hear me. I should be able to see you guys on both sides. Yep, all right, I got video. I got everything. Let me see if... Yeah, it looks pretty good. All right, let me pop this over here. And you guys should be able to see me. You should be able to hear me. All right, so what are we doing today? We are talking about our big event that's coming up for the Professional Linux Users Group. We've been running this group for, it's going to be 11 years now, guys. Jeez. How's it going, Lord Processor and Adaverk over on the YouTube side of things? I found out earlier, like somebody said, like, you're not actually supposed to mention the different things. So people call it like the blue site and the red site and the purple site. I don't even know any of that stuff. But I'm going to tell you that I'm just going to keep calling it whatever I call it, and we're going to be fine. But what are we doing today? I am updating my presentation for 2025, and I am talking on the 9th of August, 2025. And let me show you guys the events that we're going to have. Let me show you guys what's going on and just kind of a little about it. I don't have a lot of time tonight. I'm only going to be hanging out with you guys for a little bit. But we do have a Discord, guys. It's free, right? And don't charge you nothing for it. There's no entry. You don't got to be cool or anything. Yeah, Adaverk. Yeah, I'm on a little earlier, but also I just kind of want to hit this a little bit and tell you guys about it. I set up a new desk, so now I have my main desk here, and then I've got my other desk over to the side. But I'll take pictures once I get it a little more set up for the Discord, and I'll post it in there. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about it. For people that want to come to the meeting and see everything, we're going to do August 9th and 10th. Now, some of you might say, well, what about that little thing you say on the 8th? Well, that's just for people that want to come and hang out on Friday. So this Friday, we're going to hang out a little bit early. This isn't part of like the official flyer or anything. You just have to already been in the Discord and find it. And we're just going to hang out down there and talk. Probably have people talk about, I don't know, whatever they want to with Linux. And then we're going to start the conference on August 9th at 9 a.m. The kickoff is going to be Salty Catfish, who I've known for many years. He's a lead software engineer. Then Timodius is going to come. These aren't their real names, obviously, but they'll tell you their real names. Salty is streamed. Some of you guys have seen him in streams and that kind of stuff, so he's been around a while. He's been a lead software engineer the whole time I've known him. Like, he's been a team lead for, I don't know, I've probably known him five, almost 6 years now, and he's been a lead the whole time. So, like, he's a software guy. Tommy's going to come and talk to you guys. Timodius, he's my brother. He does data analytics for a big insurance company. Not the same big insurance company that I worked for, surprisingly, which is kind of funny. And then we've got one of our, so these are guests, but these guys have been around a while. This is a whole new one. None of you guys have met this guy. He's going to talk to you. He works with Space Force. He's in cyber effects operations with the U.S. military. I'll let him tell you guys his rank and stuff, but suffice it to say he's been in there for a while. And he's an officer rank, so he's pretty far up in the officer ranks. He's going to come talk about RHEL session security and some of the stuff that he does in his offensive cybersecurity stuff. So then I'm picking up the tail end of that first day. I'm going to talk to you guys about why engineering, which is actually the presentation I'm going to be updating here. So like why engineering and what about engineering and concepts about it that make it interesting to us, right? Problem solving, the effective communication and what we're doing. So I'm just going to be adding to it. There's going to be more there than you guys have seen before. So some of you guys have seen that presentation a few times from me. So I'm going to update that. And then I'm gonna finish off the day. So I'll finish off the day, and then if people want to hang out and do later stuff and keep going, we can. Yeah, Adaverk, I'll post stuff on Discord, absolutely. The second day, so people can hang out later. We'll just hang out. Typically, when I'm done, we'll just go hop down in like a Linux chat. Last year, when we only had 1,000 people in the Discord, we have about 4,000 now. When we did this, we had a few hundred people come through. So I would expect us to have many hundreds come through over the course of the 2 days. One of the things I was telling the guys earlier too is I wouldn't just like come in. I mean, you can come in and hit all the buttons and go to all the events. They're all free. But what I would tell you guys is focus on the things that are interesting to you. Like if you say, hey, I want to do data analytics and I want to get into that space, go to Tom's. And then also Jared's talking the second day. So Jared has been through quite a few times, and he does data analytics and e-commerce. So maybe you guys want to get in that space and get some ideas around that. Maybe get a contact. I know Jared's kept in contact with a lot of people that have come to his talks and all that kind of stuff. Hayes, thanks for coming by. Yeah. You don't have to check in, but I do appreciate you coming by. So on the second day, we're going to kick that off with Leith, and he's going to give from instructions to intent, modern infrastructure. He's going to talk about infrastructure scripts, code, and automating systems. He's going to tell you about doing that. Originally, he was going to do Terraform and Proxmox, and then I'm sure his ideas around what he wanted to show in an hour and a half changed. Control Byte's going to come and talk about DevSecOps, and I thought I updated his, but maybe I thought I updated his, but I'll check and make sure. But his is going to be DevSecOps. That's what he does professionally, and he wants to tell you guys about getting in that space. A lot of these they're off to the side of Linux, right? They're what we would call like ancillary. They're not directly Linux based, but we touch Linux all the time, right? So, there's all that. Anyways, what else? Jared's going to talk data analytics and e-commerce. Sending Grounds is going to come. Some of you guys heard him talk this last weekend when you guys were working on your. Some of you guys were doing the interviews this weekend. He did interviews and showed what an interview loop at like a Mang type company, or what they used to call Fang. His company stayed the same in there, but other ones have changed names, right? But he talked about that, and then he actually gave interviews to people, so you guys got to see what that kind of looked like. And then he talked about kind of like the little proclivities of it. He had a pretty cool little tool. He was using like a notepad in Rust. I'm gonna have to grab that because I'm gonna start using that for some of the stuff that we do. And then the last one is contract first, chaos later. King Buns is going to come and talk about implementing designs with heterogeneous systems at scale. He is a kind of like he's a lead software engineer as well. So he's a software engineer. Now I don't want to make anybody think, oh, I can't go to that because I'm not a software engineer. You're welcome to any. If you play with Linux and you want to talk to people that are doing these things professionally, and you want to see what the jobs are like, you can do that. Now, mine is a little different because I'm just the guy I just come in and talk generically about engineering. In fact, my stuff isn't even strictly speaking talking directly about Linux. But it's because you guys hear me all the time. Some of you guys are so sick of listening to me, you don't even show up anymore, so that's fine. Anyways, I'm kidding. But no, my talk is much more generic about being an engineer. And a lot of what we talk about in this group and the professional Linux users group is getting into administration, because that's kind of where you start. But this is kind of thinking about the next steps and what we do and where we go and that kind of stuff. So, all right, so that's kind of what I'm here to talk about tonight. Let you guys know that event is this weekend. It is free. So, if you were just going to be sitting around watching Netflix anyways, you might as well just hop in one of those channels. We have broken our Discord quite a few times, so I think it's hilarious when we break Discord. But we have had, I think the most we've had in one session is like 131 or something like that. In fact, we've had so many people that we've had to go to the conferences. So if you guys have ever been on Discord, you can't just be in a normal voice chat. Once you get over 25 people, you're not allowed to have cameras on anymore. And then once you get over about 60 people, it doesn't behave right. So then you have to change over to these like conferences and stages, and then only the people that are allowed to talk and that kind of stuff. But all right, so anyways, my point is there's a bunch of stuff for you guys to maybe think about and get into there. Again, the price is free, but people are coming to talk to you guys and hopefully give you an idea about what they do, what the industry looks like. There's a little bit of give and take and a little back and forth near the end that you guys can come and talk to people. And don't let these numbers, like these individual numbers from me putting it in, there's going to be a lot of people that show up. There always is. So anyways, all right, so there's that. I wanted to work on this a little bit tonight, so I'll probably start adding to this. And I might have to open up my Excalidraw a little bit as well, because I need to get in there and start to draw on. I need to make a new version of all this. So let's see if I can just, I don't know if I can just make a new one of these. Just make a new one. There we go. Brand new untitled scene. So one of the cool things about I just got around the other day to paying for Excalidraw, so I'm like, all right, because you can run it locally, but because it is open source. But I was like, yeah, I'll just pay him. We have I have a diagram that I like to use when I show you guys stuff, and I think it's actually back over here, so I might go steal it from myself. Import it here. I think I have it right over here. Yep. So I'm going to steal this from myself because that's my favorite thing to do, is steal from myself especially. Let's go back to this untitled scene, and let's just start with this as the base part of what I'm going to do or talk about. And this is what we call the simple communication model, right? There's no simpler model that exists for communication to occur between systems. It's the simple communication model is like the core of like engineering as well, because it's like these components must be there, but then everything gets more complex from there. So I'm going to start with this model. This model will be on one of my slides coming up here, right? Like, so I'm going to talk a little bit about why engineering, because that's the point of it. But I'm going to switch it up a little bit, and the simple communication is going to pop up. And we're going to talk about securing the systems. I'm going to give a little more about securing this week. Yeah, King Buns, I'm just kind of, what I've found is that people, if I kind of stoke them up and get them all ready before, there'll be a little more activity and people showing up. So yeah, I just figured I'd be on there. Turtlebeard, thanks for coming by. Yeah, we're just hanging out. I'm talking a little bit about the group and kind of our meeting that comes up. But watch this, guys. This is one of the cool things that you get when you pay for this. I don't know if you can do this without paying for it. I have never tried before, but there's actually a and I don't know the keywords for it, but let me see if I can find it. I should be able to frame. Yeah, so watch. I'll do a frame tool, and I'll take this frame right here, right? And then this becomes part of, so I can take that, right? And actually I'm going to grab all of it again, Control A, Control C, maybe. And then if I drop down here and I make another one of them, right? Move it over a little bit. See if I can move it all at once. Yeah. One of the cool things is that you can jump between the different events, almost like you're making PowerPoint slides. So I'll be able to grab all my PowerPoint slides out of here and just go throw them in over there as I modify them for the parts that I'm going to do. So again, the simple communication model exists like this. This is one. I mean, I've been teaching this forever in the college world, but it's like a sender, a receiver, a message, a medium, and noise, and we do these things with it. But let's say that you were using this model to send something across a room. This is where I'm going to go in my discussion. You want to send, a message from here to the other side of the room. Well, you need to start thinking about, we've got a sender, a receiver, a message, a medium, and noise. But now, as we start to think about, I don't know where somebody is. I need to have addressable space to get over to where they are. Now, if I have an addressable space to get over there, I need a lookup because I don't know all the addresses of everybody. I mean, that seems kind of preposterous that I would know everything about everybody everywhere. That's a bit much. So it starts to like scope this more and more complexity to it. And then if I have an addressable system that I can query, I need to make sure I'm talking to the right system. So now there starts to be like DNS security. And then how do I ensure that the other system on the far side is who I think it is? Now we start to talk about like third-party trust and certificate authorities. And I trust somebody to introduce me to them based on downloading a public version of a key that proves that they are who they say they are. Now we get things that are like called non-repudiations, right? And there's this simple model just starts. It's almost like you're telling a story and you start with like a guy on a boat and then it just keeps going and going and going. Well, engineering's that same way. There's all these other things that we can drill into and think about. And that's actually one of the things that I think is a skill, is to understand the whole, but understand the importance of the individual parts. What are we focusing on right now to the, ignoring of all others? That's an engineering skill. That's a thing that only comes with like spending time with this stuff and knowing it. So anyways, that's where I'm going to be adding to this. The original talk that I did was just why engineering, and then I talked about some of the different pieces. And what I'm going to add, I'm still going to do all of it. I'm just going to go a little faster through it. And then I think what I'll do is probably when we get to like we've got the security part, but then maybe at the end, maybe right here I'll even add it in. So I'll do the first part of the talk kind of quick, right? And then I'll start dropping in, okay, so that's cool and all, but why engineering, right? Because that's the name of the topic. That's what we're talking about, is why engineering. Like why do we want to go through this, rigor and figuring out if we want to be called an engineer. And I mean, at the end of the day, I tell you guys this often, like engineering is just a search for truth. You're looking for ones or zeros, you're looking for a value to be set. You then turn that into a fully scoped product, and that kind of stuff, which also is its own little discipline of, how we make things fit for use and fit for warranty and all these other kind of components. But anyway, so so I might add this, because this was all security stuff. This was securing the system. I might add this here. Yeah, this might just supplant all of this. Like 6 through 15 may be hidden for the purposes of this for now, right? And then because I did them last year, and maybe we'll hide all these slides for now, and then we will add in. So it'll be the same, like the same general ideas of the talk will be there, but I'm going to focus on it from a different way of looking at it. Again, it would be like if hey Enzo, how's it going? It would be like, I explain this like this a lot with students, right? And it's the same reason why when I tell my students to write something up, I don't want the Google answer or nowadays the generative AI answer. It's because, just imagine for a second, you got on scene of an accident. And you don't have to be a cop if that bugs you or whatever. You're some investigator. You're some investigator from some company that runs the stop signs. And you get there, and there's 4 witnesses. And you go to the first witness, and you say, what do you see? And they tell you. And the second witness goes ditto. And the third witness goes ditto. And the fourth witness goes ditto. And you're like, you guys are fucking useless. Right? Like, I mean, wouldn't they be useless as witnesses? My point in saying that is I want to know, I want to know what you saw. Like you saw the vehicle tip over and roll twice, but somebody else saw the vehicle hit another vehicle and then roll over twice. And it's like different people telling different parts of a story give a more complete. It's not that they're lying, and it's not that they're necessarily intentionally omitting things. It's just sometimes you need multiple. Well, where I'm going with that is it's the same way when you're learning things, right? Like you pick this up, and maybe you memorized all these things here. Maybe you didn't, but as we start to talk about these things, you could go, okay, I understand the individual components. Now when he spins off into what the sender's doing, I can understand that the sender has to go out and find where this thing is. So it's got to trust some third party somewhere, what we call DNS in a system. But again, even if we were just talking about little organisms trying to talk, they would have to figure out where that other thing is. Well, how are they going to do that, right? And then they have to go to the addressable space, right? Which, by the way, is no different than any computer science, right? We input, process, put something in storage somewhere, and then if we remember where we stored it, we can pull it up later, which is all these memory allocations, all this stuff. And that's the kind of thing, like, I know if King Buns is still around, when we sit around and talk about this stuff, it's like, that's the stuff that he does, right? Him and his guys, they specialize in, okay, I can go put the stuff over there and pull it back over here. And then it's like, oh, I need to pull it from an API. Oh, I need to, whatever programming they're doing. I know that he does web and he does backend, he does all that stuff, but it's like I forget where I was going with all that, but my point is, it's all just the same thing, right? It's all systems engineering, right? People go about it all kinds of different ways. I don't spend time in Rust and C, and I don't get into those arguments because that's not what I do, right? But it's all different people doing different types of engineering. All right, Kevin over on the YouTube side, how's it going? Let's see if I can get. I want to see. I should be able to, if I click on this frame, I should be able to jump to the other. I don't know why I can't. Maybe I don't know. I don't know the tooling on this new thing very well. Let's see if I can do it here. Wait, hold on. Let's go to like presentation. So here would be the first frame, and there's the second. You see how it jumped into like a presentation mode? So I can actually start this like a little presentation if I wanted to. I kind of like that. What I don't like about it is it doesn't have the cool little PowerPoint stuff, the closed captioning. That is kind of cool. All right, so now that I know I can do that with frames, right, I am going to start to modify this model with the different component pieces that I'm talking about, but without touching the thing inside of there. Enzo Bear, this is the paid for version, yeah. Yeah, I just, it was funny, I paid for it the other day, and apparently they put me in like a 7 or a 14-day trial or something. So I got an alert yesterday that said, your trial's up. We're going to go ahead and charge you if that's okay. And I was like, actually, yeah, I thought you guys already did charge me. It's like $7 a month, or you could do it for the whole year, and it's like you save a couple dollars or something. I'm like, I'll just pay it monthly because I like the tool already. I already think Excalibur is a fantastic tool. Some of you guys know you can also put it, like if you use VS Code, you can put it in, you know, your own little. Oh, I was messing with it here in VS Code as well. So in here, hold on, get out of there. Maybe, I'm not actually sure if this will allow us to do it here. No. And maybe here. No. So in this tool, it doesn't allow you to go into like a full presentation mode. It does have cool kind of. I may even do, actually, now that I think about it, I might even do some of my presentation in that, because that would be kind of cool to just pop it up and do, right? Put my, I don't want to switch to light mode. That'll burn everybody's eyes out. Can I, Oh, it's already in there. Yeah, I might do that. I might do that as I talk through the different pieces and that kind of stuff. That might be kind of fun. Yeah, so I haven't really decided how I'm going to do my in presentation. Oh, I can stay. Hold on. I can start in presentation mode, but not in full screen. Oh, look at that. Okay. We might play with that a little bit. That might be kind of fun. Yeah. Anyway, so there's. My point in saying all that is either this makes it over into the PowerPoint side, or the PowerPoint makes it over here. Either way, it doesn't really matter to me, although I do like that. Turtle Beard said, I've been using Excalibur and Obsidian for a while now. Let me see if this is implemented. Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah, it's just frames. So look up frames and then see if you can do that. I haven't used it through Obsidian, but I use it in LogSec sometimes. So LogSec. It's like all the things that this thing doesn't let me say, and then it says something weird like that. LogSecs. It stops me from saying all kinds of things, but it just says that out of the blue. Oh, are you trying to get me banned? All right. Anyway, so my thoughts on this are, I'm going to start with a simple communication model. I'm going to discuss the things the sender needs to be doing, the things the receiver needs to be doing and needs to know. I need to talk about the message. Actually, a lot of that gets into like how TLS kind of works, how we protect the medium and those kind of things. And there's actually a lot of protections on the medium for a signal. And then noise. What is signal to noise ratio? How do we deal with it? How do we deal with near side and far side? Right? There's near end problems with signals and far end problems with signals, and both of them cause different types of problems, right? At some point, you could just make it stronger. But if your system is propagating the noise, which analog systems used to do, you start to get problems with that kind of stuff. So yeah, Enzo Bear, it's ridiculous. Yeah. So anyways, that's kind of where I am. I didn't have like a super large agenda for today. My main reason for going live was to show you guys that we have, stuff coming up this weekend. We're just going to be down in the Discord. You're going to see a lot of people down there hanging out. And there's going to be, so what we'll do is we'll have the people doing the talks. And the talks will be like a conference room kind of, where only the people that are talking will be able to talk. That's how, if you guys have ever been like a big all hands meeting or something, it's more of a stage. And we do that because then we can fit up to 500 people in there. I've always seen with Discord that we start to have problems if we get over about 60. Maybe I should message them and be like, hey, turn on your second server or something. But anyways, we'll throughout the day we'll get a lot of people through, and that tends to happen. And then what we'll do is when we're done, the talks typically go an hour to an hour and a half. We're going to be dropping into the different voice channels. So we have the different study groups or the Linux chat or the events. So we can then, the smaller subsets that want to go and hang out and talk with the different people can go in there and discuss with them, more. If you guys want to exchange information, some people I know from last year were hanging out and getting information. I know some of the people kept in touch with Jared. Jared's probably come and talked to our group probably 6 or 7 times, and he's a like a data architect for a big website, and he'll tell you about all that. Enzo Bear, it starts to get really bad in a normal message for sure. But all the events are here. This is actually the updated one. So if you guys were looking for times, that's in Pacific Standard Time as well. So that's the west coast of the U.S. 3 hours off of Eastern. So that'll be noon Eastern right there. That'll be noon Eastern for people, right? In fact, I had to switch with Salty because he's going to be doing something later that day, so he can't do the last one. So I'm letting him kick it off, and then I'll be the one that kind of pulls up the anchor at the end. And actually, what we'll probably do when we're done with that is I'll probably just hang out, and if any of you guys want to keep talking and work on stuff or whatever, that's what we'll do on Saturday. So Sunday, also super busy. In fact, the time I normally give you guys for lunch to go hang out and do whatever, like you would in a normal thing, we slid Jared's talk in there. So Jared is actually when I would normally give you guys a lunchtime. But if you want to hang out with Jared and then, either miss the other ones or get up with Jared and then watch the other ones and, however you got to do it. My point is, and I was even saying this earlier, like, you're going to burn yourself out if you try to go watch all of them because it's just a lot of noise at that point. I would find 1 or 2 that are interesting. Well, you can go to all of them if you want, but I'm just saying, find the ones that are interesting to you on what you want to do with your career, right? I'm just going to go to all the other ones because I don't want to be in my career anymore. I'm just kidding. I love what I do. It's actually pretty fun. So it's funny, as I started looking at this, I just don't have any motivation right now. So I started looking at this and I'm like, well, I might put some of that stuff back in, but I am going to leave the end, which is the part about what engineering is. Why engineering? Because nobody's going to pay us to hack. The whole hacker man, I'm in type stuff. It looks good for the movies, but that's not really the way that it works in the industry too much. You end up having to put some rigor around hacking, and that is the discipline is called engineering. And typically we put planning on the front of it and documenting on the end of it. And then we still get to do all that hacky stuff, but we're engineers, right? And then I talk a little bit about how we plan things, how we document things, and then our kind of final. Yeah, so I'm just going to expand this middle piece from our old talk with these topics here. I just don't want to do it. Like I started looking at that and I'm like, this looks too much like work. So instead, what do? I still got to get the lab back working. I have failed to get the lab back working because I've been focusing on it a little bit here and there, and I haven't really sat down and forced myself to get it working. But I do plan on getting it working this week so that people can do the troubleshooting labs. Werewolf is hard down in my environment, so that's kind of funny. And then, what else? Let's go see what else we got. We finished up the systems administrator course, and the last day to turn that stuff in, if people want to, if you're doing the course with us, is the 17th. So August 17th will be the end of the sysadmin course, in case anybody was wondering about that. Sysadmin course is, I don't know, right here. So if you guys have ever wondered about the sysadmin course, that's free. That's right here. I'll link that to you guys. Because some of the dudes in our group put it together into being a real nice little web book for you guys. So there it is for anybody that wants it. Yeah, Turtlebeard, you could. I think if somebody does the work, you could probably move through it pretty quickly. Like if you're in that field and you just blasted through stuff, I think you could probably do that. For people that are, a little newer or need to like spend some time thinking about the concepts, I estimate it's about 8 to 10 hours a week of work for people. Like if you've never done like web or like if you've never set up an Apache server on the front of a web, facing Linux box or something, that's a whole new thing for some people. And then that's going to take a little time to adjust and kind of absorb the concepts that are coming at you and that kind of stuff. Yeah, you can definitely do the course when it's not run, and still get the piece. No, the certificate is only if you do the whole course with us. Yeah, there's only, I'd say there's probably like 8 or 9 people that finished the sysadmin course the first time, and then the systems engineering course, I think it was a solid 5 people that finished that one. Yeah. So the option for doing the course when we're not running it is you could just go through everything and keep it, and then I would just turn it in at the end of the next course. I don't think we're going to run the course again this year, but I mean, I'm around if people need to ask questions, and I'm going to have a modified way to get into the lab environment, because currently you guys jump in through one user on our Bastion node, but I'm going to modify that so that you guys have different users depending on where you want to go. And I've already split that out and had some guys test it, so that's looking pretty good. But I do need to update that and move that to a different system so that the older system is still on CentOS 7, so it doesn't use some of the newer hashes, so people can't connect. So that's kind of a funny little thing you run into when you're using an old version of Linux. The systems engineering course is actually a security engineering course. So this one is focused solely on security. And this is the topics of it if you wanted them. These are the topics right here for the security course. The security engineering course we might run again this year. I haven't decided yet. But if we do run it again this year, it's just 8 weeks quick. I mean, that's quick to me. That's like a short college class, I'm Veer Singh said, hi there. Is there any prerequisite for the course? There aren't any prereqs, but I will tell you this. The sysadmin course, this is kind of designed for the average person that just kind of uses Linux and wants to see what it's like to use Linux in the enterprise. That's what this course is around. This doesn't really focus on like the hands-on type stuff that's like in our Killer Coda Labs. Killer Coda is free, guys. You guys can go do Killer Coda Labs whenever you want. No, so like my point is this one doesn't like really like make you do a lot of cat and VI and those kind of things. Like it kind of just drags you along with it and assumes that you know that. This course here also doesn't have any prereqs, but this one right here, there were no training wheels on this one. You had to be able to get into Linux. You had to be able to move around. You had to be able to do the basic things. And there was like a constant assumption that you were following along, taking notes as we went, This one was definitely like a faster moving course. But I think they're both valuable. I think this shows you how to build systems and get them into an environment that is working. So I think this is a complete like blue team activity, Linux type admin and engineer type role. And then this one over here, this is the Linux admin course. This one is much more like the day-to-day operational activities that you're going to run into, how work is going to come in, all these kind of things. Yeah. Beginner would definitely be admin course. I would definitely tell you guys to do the admin one. And there, by the way, if anybody's in the Discord and you're like, oh, you're linking stuff too fast or something, everything in the Discord is always right here under beginner start here. So everything we do, like all of this is real beginner Linux stuff right here. This is all like as basic as I could make it. And then down here is like a bunch of certs that you could go do if you needed time to study and work on stuff to just kind of buff up that one-page resume for tech, right? And then we have our playlist for the 16-week courses. And then here's the course books that are free. So all the things I linked you are also over there. So there you go. Yeah, so hopefully that stuff's good and useful to you guys. Yeah, Enzo Bear, hopefully that stuff's useful, yeah. Because the beginner stuff is like, I try to do it all there. Yeah, Enzo Bear, the book. So I do have a book, guys, that it's a book that's not free. It's the only thing that's not free around here. This thing goes along with our Killer Coda Labs. The Killer Coda Labs are completely free too. Oh, it's bright. Our Killer Coda Labs look like this. And this is what the book goes with. So Enzo, that book that somebody could buy if they wanted to, that's here. Check this out. That goes over these labs here. So it's all these Linux labs, which just drop you in and make you do stuff. And also the Ansible labs. So it's the Ansible and it's also the Linux labs. So here's all the... This is enough, I think, to get you up and running in Ansible right here. This stuff. This shows you how to install Ansible, test it out, build a host file, get a basic host file working, start doing basic commands and just watch it kind of throw commands and stuff around your environment. And then you get down here, you start pushing a deployment, some package, some tar.gz file that I made that just has a little script in it. And then you actually go and deploy that script. And that script says, I would be installing right now. And it would be if it was doing any actual work, right? Then we start to do Jinja templates so that we could do config files and environment files and those kind of things. We do a report, which gives us a report out of how the deployment happened and how well it worked on different systems. Then we hit an API. I actually need to redo, I don't need to redo it. I need to make a lab where we do some work and then we throw the info up from Ansible directly into like Loki. Because you guys already built Loki for logging, right? Well, all of our stuff can be logged back to Loki that way too. I would advise using like an Ansible orchestrator, like there's the not Ascender tool. What is the? It's the CIQ tool. Oh, it is Ascender, yeah. And then Ansible Automation Platform or Tower or AWX or any of those flavors that are out there. But yeah, but Enzo Bear, do all the labs first before you ever do any of the buy-in of the book or anything like that. I tell guys all the time, do this, get this stuff down. And then the book is just extra information around it. It's almost like, man, I don't want to try to sound like Thoreau or anything, but it's like, anyway, this thing, Thoreau. I meant, whatever. It doesn't matter. But I'm not trying to like say like stillness of man or anything. But what I'm saying is it's a reflection of like, what did you just do? It's like digging deeper. It's almost like a little journal of like what you learned. Because I am a big fan, you know, I've been a college professor for a long time. I'm a big fan of reflecting on what you did, doing something, you know. There's the whole tell somebody, tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you just told them for learning. And it's the same thing with like, you have to tell somebody something 6 times before it sticks. That's why if you ever hear like jingles on the radio, back when we used to listen to radio, right? They'll say things multiple times. It's to get it to stick. Well, it's the same kind of idea here. Like, you hear that you're going to do something like, okay, I'm going to stage a tar.gz file. Then you go and you do it. And then if you reflect on it and think about what you know about it as you did it, it starts to make that stick a little better. So anyways, that's those things, the Killer Coda stuff's all there. I need to keep adding. I want to get us to 100 by the end of the year. That's one of my goals. Get us over 100. So what else do we got? This is one of my old presentations on getting ready for your CKA. That's up in the Discord as well, so we're not going through that right now. What else are we doing today then? I wasn't planning on streaming too long. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, my system's all busted right now. Let's see what state I left it in. Pretty sure it's not even getting past. So I have tore everything down except for rebuilding all the Rocky box, like the actual werewolf node. All the other nodes have, like, I've done everything I can think of. I've worked through their docs, and I'm on a newer version than I've used professionally, so there's like differences and that kind of stuff. It's still identifying as Rocky 12. It's finding all the information. It's doing its TFTP. And then it's getting down into whether it's going to pull a full image or a drag cut image. Now I can do either one, but in this case, you can see it tried to do just a normal boot, single stage boot, and it's going to fail. So I am, yeah. That's interesting. Anyways, I got a lot to work on with that. And I do plan on having it up before this weekend. I planned on actually having it up this last weekend. I just didn't get a lot of time to work on it. Abdo said, hi, recently converted to full-time at Red Hat after my internship. Any tips on how to increase my visibility within the team and company? Abdo, I have a set of things that I tell people to do. Like, I mean, I don't know Red Hat specifically. I do have a lot of colleagues that work over there. But I did write up something one time. I think it's in notes. Let me go find it. Let's see if this helps. The things that I think new people should do on a team. There's a lot of notes in here. Meeting notes is a good place to go search through if you're looking for something, right? Like old topics that we talked about. This was like a system deployment process and maybe a model for how it could work. But hold on, let me find because I'm pretty sure I have an answer, like my answer to this. I wrote it up one time. Somebody asked me to. Let's see. Different drawings we've done. Security stuff, monitoring, right? Different ways that we do monitoring in the different courses. That was patching. Those were logs. Hold on. It's not very far up. I wouldn't look for it if it was very far up. Different drawings that we have. I think it's in here. So give me a second. I don't think I put in jobs. I'm trying as I'm looking. I'm trying to think of a keyword that might help me find it, but I don't remember. Where's my Wazoo install? Meeting agenda. Why do we automate? Kubernetes notes. Job site stuff. So this is okay. So somebody asked right here, right? So hopefully, I mean, I think you're a systems administrator. Oh, the question is part of soft skills. Your input is okay. Yeah, I can definitely show you some soft skills that I have. Like I have a whole presentation on soft skills for Linux engineering. But yeah, call it. Hopefully, this stuff's useful to you, even if you're all the way from Saudi. That's awesome. This is the things that I think when you're onboarding as a new sysadmin that you should do, right? When you're a new sysadmin, document things as you make. So this was like as you're coming on a team. It sounds like you were already a intern, so maybe this doesn't apply as much. But these are things that like I think as I come onto a team that I want to know. Where are all of our documentation sources? Every time somebody tells me something, like where they went or they send me a Slack message or whatever, I compile those. I get a whole list of them. What are our wiki pages? Are we using SharePoint? Hey, look, when you're new, you don't get to fight against things. If they picked SharePoint, that's the tool. If they picked MediaWiki, that's the tool. If they do it all and just search through Slack later, that's the tool, right? I mean, guys, there's all kinds of different tools. I worked with a company. I worked at a college because some of you guys know I work at a company called Redline, and I do different contract work with different customers. And they had me with a college for a year. I was embedded. Like I dropped in, I did all this work, built their team back up, and then I left after a year. And they used OneNote. And OneNote was perfectly acceptable for what they wanted to see. You could integrate OneNote with Teams. They were using Teams. They were a Microsoft shop except for the high-performance compute cluster, which was all Linux. And that, you know what? I could have sat around and fought that all the time, but that would have been wasting my time. Anyways, I know you're not saying that, but what I'm pointing out is we don't worry about what the tools are that people want to monitor things in. We just gather all the tools. So then when somebody else comes along, because like what's going to happen is in a few weeks, somebody's going to be like, hey, there's this new person coming on. Can you show them all this stuff? And you're either going to be really disorganized or you're going to have all this stuff. Those are the two options, right? So then, yeah, like what are all the meetings? Guys, I can't tell you how many times I've been added to a team or seen somebody else added to a team where somebody says, oh man, you never invited them to a meeting. They've been missing that meeting the last 3 weeks. And then like they have to catch up. So what I do is every meeting I get invited to, I keep track of. And then when people ask me like at the end of the first week, like, hey, how was your first week? I say, hey, these are all the documentation sources that I got from people. These are all the meetings I'm invited to. Can you think of any other ones? Like it's very interactive for me because then I can just go back to sitting around waiting for meetings, right? And then like if they give you access to stuff, if they give you server access, if they tell you to go check your access in a certain environment, do that. document it that you could or couldn't get in. If they have a Jira board or a team calendar or SharePoint or GitHub, Bitbucket, GitLab, make sure you can get into those tools, because that's how you're going to do your work. That's how you're going to build what we call work artifacts that go into CI/CD pipelines and all these other terms, right, that are, at the end of the day, just good engineering, right, because it doesn't need to be on your local machine. Then, points of contact. Do you have training where they're telling you how to talk to HR and how to file, complaints or spills or whatever? Keep track of all that. It doesn't have to be, guys, this doesn't have to be like some formal doc, but keep track of it. If you get to talk with architects, if you're systems admin or engineer and you're starting out, say, what documentation do they have? How did they build things? What service levels or KPI, key performance indicators, do we have for these systems? And then what are our current pain points? By the way, if you say, what documentation can I review or what service levels or KPIs, some architects are just going to glaze over their eyes and be like, I don't even know. But if you ask this question right here, which you probably asked in your interview, I promise you, there's no engineer or architect or anybody on planet Earth that's done tech that doesn't have an answer for this right here. If you asked me what my current pain points were in a system, I could give you the list of the ones that had kept me up the last few weeks. I could tell you all the ones in the home lab for damn sure. It's the damn werewolf right now. But anyways, my point is, and then I build system maps. The way that I see the system, like, okay, I'm on my local machine. I have to jump into a jump box. From my jump box, I start to access the system through login nodes, or, typically like clusters look like this. So if we're talking, where's that? Hold on. If we're talking, shoot, wrong one. Hold on. Right here. It's right. It's one of these. NIST. Yeah. So this is the NIST standard for supercomputing. In fact, I'm gonna when I do our HPC project, when I do our HPC one, this is what it's going to be modeled after, because this is what I show customers. This is the same one that I use right here. This page, it's page 11 of the PDF if you've got the PDF open. But anyways, where I'm going with that is, this is the general model of how people connect to air-gapped high-performance compute systems. And they're not even necessarily intentionally air-gapped. It's just we don't want the resources being used in other places, so we control them, right? That kind of stuff. So yeah, anyways, there's just all this stuff, right? And then that's what I would do. So where do I enter the system? What jump hosts or hosts do I have? What naming scheme are we using? If there's a set of lists or nodes or different types of things that I tend to use. Whoops, jeez. The features of this wonderful new OS. Terrible. There you go. So here's the thing. So that's kind of the things that I think you should be doing as you onboard. I think I have some, and so anyways, this is up in the meeting notes of the Discord. If you go in meeting notes and just search for, like, I don't know, if you search for SharePoint, there's probably not too many SharePoints and you would find it. All those other boards are probably other places. And then I think I might have one. Here's security engineering questions from some of our labs. Let me see if I have one. I thought I wrote up another one, like what I think you should be doing when you first get on at a company. Let me see. This was a tool we were looking at. This, we were going to build our own little dungeons out for systems. We still have that all. We could still do that. I was just dropping meeting agendas, so when we would do it, because we used to do a Saturday meeting every Saturday, and we might restart it again after things kind of cool down with, like, our anniversary and all that kind of stuff. This is lurking. I thought I had one up here, but I might not. But meeting notes, guys, gives you a lot of good insight to what's going on in the group and what has been going on in the group. Fucking this thing. Everybody drawn. Yeah, people had all kinds. This was who gave this talk? Was this Oh, this was Salty Catfish, and then I just grabbed a bunch of notes for things that he showed. So yeah, Salty came one time and talked to you guys about APIs. This was actually a really funny meeting. Which, let's see, do we have them here? Hold on. Oh man, the old names. People that aren't even around anymore. Chicken Biryani and Salty Catfish in a meeting together. So you're just dropping these notes in. Yeah, most of them are marked down, or I just took them in Notepad++, and I just dropped them right in there. Yeah. Some are pure markdown. Some are just whatever it took as plain text. Yeah. Look, meeting notes from this was Sending Ground. So last time Sending Grounds came and talked. Well, this was not even the last time. This was a long time ago. But these are the different things that he did. Does he not? I must have been gone when he did this one, because normally I sit around if he's doing them. If he's talking, I think people should be listening. I don't have this other one. But anyways, let me show you. You wanted soft skills? Give me a second here. Abdo, hopefully this is useful. Let me see. Right here. It is. So let me pull up one. This is in PowerPoint. I think it's actually called soft skills, and it needs to. I need to update it. Yeah, soft engineering skills. So this one looks like this. Get out of here, designer. That stupid designer is always trying to design stuff. So this one is by me, right? And I could pull it over the whole thing, but I don't care. So soft engineering skills. Day in the life of an engineer. So what are you going to do as an engineer? Like what are you going to run into? And this is kind of the high level topics of this talk, but like stand-up meetings, ECB and CAB meetings, so engineering change boards or change advisory boards, and then updating dev and prod environments. I still need to write. The highlighted ones I have to write, so I just haven't gotten around to it. Fit for warranty and fit for use are how we provide something to be like a minimum viable product or a proof of concept and working to the minimum use case, right? That's what we try to do. We build a thing that does the minimum components and acts in the way that we expect it to. And then we talk a little bit about how does it threaten me and what's in it for me, which is in the way you present data. If you're presenting data to a room full of people, and the very first thing as you get introduced is like, hey, and now he's going to tell you about this whole new system that they're implementing. Well, I need you guys to know the very first thing that happens to everybody in that room, every other engineer, if you're dealing with, I used to deal with students and teachers and stuff, and still deal with students, but with other teachers and stuff when I was younger and I used to work for a school district. People always think in how does it threaten me and what's in it for me when a change occurs. When a change occurs in an organization, people either resist it or they embrace it, but they always do it through the lens of these two things. How does it threaten me and what's in it for me? So I talk about that a little bit. Presenting data, like if you're, especially if you're new, like how you present data and how you post it in a system is tremendously useful. Or just it makes you look terrible. Like it makes you look like you don't understand people. And I'll show you that. And then being above reproach. And when I say being above reproach, I mean that in an engineering sense of people never have to come back and question your work. If you tell somebody the state of a system, you back it up with things that you've seen and why you're saying that, so that nobody ever has to question whether or not you know what you're talking about, right? And then I have these other ones like meeting activities to avoid and that kind of stuff. But anyways, let's talk about stand-up meetings. Stand-up meetings are typically no more than 15 minutes. Most of you, it's actually funny, most of you from being in like COVID protocols and working remote, if you have worked remote, you've done this kind of stuff. But we used to do these even before COVID. And when we'd be in the room, we used to make the people actually stand up. And you say, why do you make people stand up in a stand-up meeting? Because people that would otherwise just sit in their chair and be like, and talk for fucking 4 hours about something stupid won't do that if you make them stand up. They're already tired from standing. All right, I'm kidding. But anyways, there's three things. What did you accomplish yesterday? What are you working on today? And what blockers do you have? What did you accomplish yesterday? Was it within the scope of what you expected to do maybe at the beginning of the week? Or some people call them sprints and all kinds of other dumb stuff. What are you working on today, which is either completing those tasks or, if you have a good manager, realigning you to things that you should be working on so that you get your tasks done by the end of the week or the month or whatever you're doing. And then what blockers do you have? And the blockers could be, hey, I've sent 3 emails over to the networking team. Nobody's gotten back to me. And then your manager should take that, your manager or team lead or whoever interfaces with those other teams, and they should go over to their side, their counterpart, and say, hey, your guy's not getting back to my guy. We need to figure this out. because it's a blocker now. Things aren't engineering's not happening because somebody's not communicating with somebody. What's going on, right? And you guys will find this to be 100% true in your careers. You might not believe me at first, but I think the longer you go, the more you're going to find it's true. The blockers are almost always personnel and people related. It's not because you like message somebody and they're not smart enough to figure it out. That's what they do, right? That's even if they were the worst network engineer on planet Earth, they're still a network engineer. They could probably still get you some kind of answer. But anyways, my point in that is blockers are things that other people should move out of your way because you're doing engineering, right? You're accomplishing tasks and building artifacts and that kind of stuff and whatever. People all want to be agile, safe agile. Fucking what are all the different types of agile they have nowadays? But the four basis of agile methodology, what they call the agile manifesto, I wrote down right here. Individuals and interactions over processes and tools. So if you spent, $10,000 on Jira and you've got a $50 a person license and you want everything to be in Jira, but two people are getting a lot done by just sitting over each other's shoulders and like co-working, you shouldn't complain about that. But I will tell you that people will complain about that. They'll be like, hey, that one person's working, but you're just standing there. It's like, we're getting stuff done. Well, I'm spitballing and they're working on, I think I told some of you guys when I worked at a company called CGI, we had like 750 servers in this little cluster and we had a few of us that maintained it. It was a government contract. Federal government, in fact, if anybody cares. But CGI is a Canadian company, but then we were working down here in Arizona. And probably 5 or 6 guys on the team would sit around my desk and ask me questions and work on stuff while I'd be working. And they'd be like, hey, how would you do this and whatever. And we'd be kind of almost like a little powwow in the morning. And the manager used to always hammer us about it. He'd be like, none of these guys are doing anything. I'm like, well, they're asking questions. Yeah, we're bullshitting a little bit, but we've got hands on the keyboard right here. And some of the guys are figuring stuff out for how they're going to do their changes and that kind of stuff. So I kind of acted like sounding board, but they said, yeah, but it looks real bad. You guys are right here up by the front and, management walks by and it looks like you guys aren't doing anything. It's like, we're on topic. I mean, for the most part, we were on topic, but I was always working on stuff. Other people, I can't stop other people from coming by my desk, Anyways, working software over comprehensive documentation. So it's like, get the thing working, get the minimum viable product working, and then we can start to build from there. Customer collab over contract negotiation. We don't sit there and point our finger at contracts. That's for management and other people to do. Engineers work on stuff. And then responding to change over following a plan. The plan this morning, the plan on Monday morning was to build a system this may be a bad example, to build a system completely in one version of an OS and we switched to this other one. That's a bit of a course correction. That's maybe something that needs to be done in a meeting. But but by and large, in general, if we have to update a version of software to get past a CVE that's going to be coming down the pike later, we need to. That's the right way to say that, by the way. Everybody says that wrong. Responding to change over following a plan is the correct action. I didn't need to wait until tomorrow to get in the meeting and then talk about it and then go forward with the thing that we're going to do, right? Hey, Sank Logic over on the YouTube side. How's it going? We are, I kind of got sidetracked a little bit, but I think it's valuable for people talking about soft engineering skills. And the question was specifically around being a newer person on a team. And they want to understand a little bit about and it sounds like Abdo's already been on the team. They just got hired on for real now. So it's you probably got the cadence of meetings down and that kind of stuff. That's probably not a problem for you. But these are things that probably take some type of form for most engineering teams, right? And they don't really teach them in college, which is funny because then I teach them in college to my college students. So now they are being taught in college. So now I can't say they aren't taught in college. It's a chicken and egg problem, right? All right, anyways, ECB or CAB. So engineering change boards, or some people call them electronic change boards. Some people call them change advisory boards or change action board. Guys, I don't care what you call them. The point is, there should be, from the time that we first build a server and send it off in a specific configuration, you send off 10 servers in a fleet, and they're going off to do servery things. They're going to get hit with different work orders and tasks and help desk tickets, and different admins that have some power to do some things are going to make those servers change off of their original baseline almost as soon as you can push them out. This has been true my whole career. push 10 servers off, go check them a week later, they're all different servers. Some got tagging on the side of them. Some have like a gold ring in their ear or whatever. Like, anyways, so change control boards, change advisory boards, whatever we call them, are there to put guardrails around the types of changes that can occur and make sure that the owners of the assets understand what the implications of the change are, right? So changes typically have the following information. This is just a high-level dump from me, but what's the complexity of the change? Sometimes, and ITIL does this, so if you ever get in an ITIL shop, it's ITIL, they will have like the complexity of a change. If it's a standard change, like I've got a Linux box sitting there and you've requested to put a 600 gig disk on a virtual machine, doesn't have to go down, doesn't have to have any downtime, there's like very, very tiny minimal risk of that crashing that server. And then I just mounted an opt for whatever your application, like you've got /opt/ the name of your app or whatever you want. That's a very minimal. That type of change should be a standard change in that somebody puts it in and it gets automatically approved. It doesn't need to go through a week-long process of, hey, let's go ahead, let's make sure this doesn't crash. It's not like I'm putting a fourth wheel on the side or a fifth wheel on the side of like my little truck or something. Like that would be weird, just putting another wheel on the side of it for no reason. That's weird. But some of these things are really small changes. Sometimes they're big changes. Sometimes they need to take the entirety of the server, which was maybe like a 4 CPU, 16 gigs of RAM, and they need to change the networking on it or something. Well, if we're going to change the networking on it and move it from maybe a dev environment over to like a test or QA, and I don't know, whatever kinds of things that can happen to a server, and there's a lot of them, guys, we need to talk about it. Now, guys, I've worked in small shops where I'm the only Linux guy. Sometimes I just have to go move things. But I do this process with myself, and then I document it so that if somebody comes later and goes, I could have sworn there was a server over there. Where is that? Well, in a meeting, you told us, that we needed to, for whatever, to do this. Here's my low record of what I did. And I typically keep it up in I used to use MediaWiki a lot and then have it all there. Also, Control Byte, hey, thanks for showing up. Control Byte's one of our speakers. Look. Also, Control Byte, I don't know if I got your updates, but if you have updates, if you want to change the wording or anything, I think yours was generic. I think I still have yours generic. Where's Control Byte? DevSecOp without the buzzwords. And I said operational activities for developers, more to come. So if you want to send me over the updates, something about, I think it's because I'm the server owner or something. Something like even if I give people permissions to edit events, they can't edit my events. Maybe it's because I'm like, I don't know, maybe I need to mod people or something, but I just didn't want to mod everybody in the server. I thought that was a little weird. So.
Why did the developer bring sneakers to the sprint? Because they wanted to stay agile.
It's pretty good. Pretty good. Changes must get the following approvals before going to the board. Typically, at least the asset owner. Sometimes, if it's an involved enough change, you need to at least get acknowledgments from like the networking team and the security team and these other teams. And I need to add this. I need to add this in. Hold on. There's a part of this. There's a concept here that is kind of spoken about sometimes. RACI. So RACI is, if you guys have never heard of this, let me pull this up real quick. RACI is a thing that's like project management, but it's responsible assignment, and it stands for the responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed parties of a thing. So if I want to go do a certain amount of change to not just like my servers anymore, but now it's going to affect and change the behavior of like environments that I'm in, who's responsible, who's accountable? I'm almost always accountable because I'm the actual engineer or admin. Engineer and admin because I have root, right? Consulted and informed. Who do we at least need to inform that we're moving around in the environment, right? And these almost always flow up as management type stuff, but this is a really good model for how we kind of do things and think about things. All right. Let me get that out of the way. Where's that chat at? I don't know what got me off on all this, but I do need to add in race seat documentation because I think that's a good one to show people. Let's talk about updating dev versus prod. I didn't put anything in there yet. Let's talk about fit for use and fit for warranty. This actually comes directly from ITIL, and I think it's a great way to think about things. Fit for use is, does the system do what it's supposed to do? I want a web server. I want it to be exposed in the DMZ, so I need to have an external facing IP address that comes in. Maybe it's TLS terminated with our certificate authority, or maybe it can't be connected directly to, it can only be talked to from our web application firewall, and then behind that web application firewall, there's like a TLS termination that comes to us. Okay, that right there is all things that I can prove by actually doing calls to the thing, attempting to connect from outside and not being able to connect, and only when I connect through the firewall. And then with the firewall, I can see the TLS connection established, and I can see the communication. I can do all these things, right? And I can prove. This right here, fit for use, is a check system. It is an Apache web server on port 80. It is functioning at this IP address. It does respond in under, in this case, maybe it responds with a 200 OK, because that's the response code for a good system. Fit for warranty is, does the system do what it's supposed to do as often as it's supposed to? So this fit for use would be like if you go buy a brand new Jeep and you go and you look at it and you go, well, it's got 4 wheels on it, and it's got a little shifter, and it's got a key, it's got a steering wheel and a windshield. I think that looks like a freaking Jeep. Okay, I got a Jeep. Good. So that's fit for use. Does it check all the boxes to be a Jeep? Does it have doors? Not all Jeeps have doors, so gotta think about that. But fit for warranty is, how does it behave in the wild, right? Does the system do what it's supposed to as often as it needs to? This is in web server. I always use web servers as an example. You can say I connected on port 80. Okay, that's a web server. Fucking whoop-de-doo. 443 for TLS, right? Good, whatever. This is like out in the wild. What happens when there's 4,999 connections and the 5,000th person tries to connect to the server? Does it fall over on its head? Does the server stop behaving properly in operation? So this might be fit for use. I turn the key and the car starts. This might be, does the car start on the 2,000th turn of the key? Right? That's what fit for warranty is. Think about a warranty on a car. 10 years, 100,000 miles, powertrain bumper to bumper warranty, right? That's what they used to always say. Fit for warranty is, do you warranty it that it's going to work as much as it needs to? I always tell you guys, you say, well, what do I warranty stuff with? You warranty it with your weekend. You say, what do you mean by that? Well, if your stuff doesn't work, you're getting called out on Saturday night and you don't get to go to the movies. Well, if you're the on-call or whatever. So I always show people this kind of stuff and tell you that kind of stuff. ControlBot, you said, yeah, travel through a wrench in my original plan, so making talk more high-level, beginner-friendly, and more lecture lesson style. ControlBot, we actually had somebody ask me if they could record theirs, pre-record it. So if you wanted to do component of yours as pre-recorded and then share it later, you could also, again, talk at a different later date, too, if you want to do the other one as well. So, yeah. That's fine. No rush, ControlBot. I mean, just as long as we know by Saturday. I'm sure people are just going to show up in general, so, I'm sure it's fine. All right, so fit for use and fit for warranty. Hopefully that's clear as mud. This is functional testing. This is non-functional or in the wild testing, if you will, right? So then we get to the how does it threaten me and what's in it for me. I learned this from a college professor of mine when I was working on my first master's degree. And he is currently, last I checked, he's got about 30,000 people under him over at Honeywell. He's pretty high up over some divisions. And he talked about this often. When presented with change in an organization, so somebody tells you something's going to change, people ask one or both of these questions. How does it threaten me and what's in it for me? Now, until you answer those, nobody cares about anything else you're talking about in front of a meeting. Let me give you an example of this. Have any of you ever went to like a meeting? We used to do these all the time at AAA, and they'd be like people had heard rumors that like there were going to be layoffs and like company wasn't making as much as we had expected, so there was not going to be as big of bonuses or whatever. And then like the CEO talks for like 55 minutes before he gets to like what we care about. Have any of you ever been in a board meeting? Like not even a board meeting, just a meeting down to like the proletariat, right? All the rest. Just kidding. But anyway, so to all the rest of us, right? And yeah, right. And do you remember anything that was said in those first 55 minutes? No, you weren't even fucking listening. Even if you wanted to listen, you were only thinking about these two things, I promise you. And if it bugs you because you're like, oh, have you guys ever seen that? Like, I'm reporting this meme because I'm in it and I don't like it. If you didn't know this about yourself, I promise you this is true about yourself. Because this is all of us. This is all of it. This is like a collective how we are as people. We think about things in their context to like how we understand, like, are they going to affect us in some way? That's how we think. That's like humans. That's not narcissism. That's not self-centeredness. It's how we think. It's like, I don't sit around and think like, as I'm walking around the day, like, oh, how would my wife avoid this stick in the road? No, I fucking walk around the stick. Like, I don't think about how she would do it. I think about how it affects me, right? Now, granted, if you're with somebody, maybe that's a little different. But I'm saying, in general, this is how people think. So when you're dealing with changes, like if I'm bringing in a new system or a new login, or we're going to cut over to a different set of like, we're going to start doing multi-factor authentication. So now you need your phones with you all the time. And people are like, I just put my phone down because it's a distraction. I don't even bring it in. Well, now you need some kind of, or you need one of these little guys. You guys ever seen one of these little guys? I'm sure most of you have seen one of these little guys. Whoa. These little guys. Little YubiKey. You guys seen these little guys? I don't know, YubiKey. But anyways, yeah, those little things that'll encrypt things for you, right? It's another thing. So it's something I have, something I know, something I am. Maybe I have to. Any of you? Oh my god, I'm not gonna spoil anything for anybody. But did any of you guys see Happy Gilmore 2 yet? Pretty funny, but the that's fucking gross. So gross. You can go look it up if you want. Yet I've said, will the book be helpful in doing the upcoming course for doing the prep? I mean, I think all automation stuff is probably good for you to know. Like, I think it's good to spend time around automation, but I don't think you need to buy the book. If you just went and did the labs, you'd be fine. I will do some, when I do this other one, which I haven't announced this one yet, but when I do this one, when I actually, because we are going to do a high performance compute one of these one days. It'll probably be a 16-week one because there's going to be so much stuff. When we go to do this one here, we will need... sorry. What was I thinking? I missed the question. We will do Slurm. We will do what we call job schedulers. So that's down here, scheduler, resource manager, and then front-end provisioning, and then cluster services. So we will talk about... Slurm's the one I know the best, but I also use Platform LSF, and what's that other one I kind of touch a little bit? Can't remember right off, but I will use any tool. I'll just go look up the commands, right? Enzo Bear, did we lose you? Are you having a stroke? You want your hardware code token generator? Yeah, do you guys remember that? Yeah, remember the little RSA ones? And then RSA got popped, so we had to turn them all in because RSA, somebody found the start of their key and knew them all. I thought that one was kind of funny. Yeah. Control byte, I think, or no, not control byte. It's Enzo Bear. So Enzo Bear, you lost it. Your cat walked across your keyboard or something. But anyway, so yeah. So how does it threaten me? Then this is the one that I said that I think this is the one that, like, I don't know how else to put this, right? Like, there is, go to your phone for a second. You're texting, in my case, like my niece or my nephew, or I'm texting like one of my buddies. I actually am kind of, you guys might know this about me, I am kind of prim and proper, and I don't really use any of these. But if somebody sends me like the letter U and means the word you, whatever. It's a text message, I don't care. However, if you do that in the professional world, for good or bad, guys, I'm just telling you the way the world is, people are going to think you're fucking retarded. Or an idiot. Or what? I don't care how smart you are. I don't care how good of an engineer you are. I don't care any of the other stuff. But that's a little to the side of what I'm saying here. I'm not really talking grammar police right now. I'm talking on this presenting of data. The idea that if I want to convey a message to you, right, and I'm encoding it in a way for you to understand, I need you to understand that the way we do that has to be understandable. So look at this real quick. Wait, I went the wrong way. Look at this real quick. There's an old quote. I read this when I was in college, and I need to find this story one of these days. But there was a guy who had a little garage in California. This was like 80s and 90s. And then he had like 30 or like 100. He just had all these garages all over California. And people asked him, they went in and said, hey, you don't have a business degree. You barely passed high school, like this, whatever the message was. But the point was, not educated. And they asked him, they said, hey, why are you so successful in business? And this is what he said. He said, I learned early on, it doesn't matter how long you've been in business, people will judge how well you can rebuild an engine by how clean your bathroom is. So he made sure that the little waiting area was very nice, very clean. Like people didn't feel like they were stepping into like a backyard, like gas station bathroom when they went back in the bathroom. It was always clean and nice. And if you think about like stores that you really like going into, that we have some out here in Arizona called QT, which are just really, really nice. And like if you ever go up to the front and there's 2 people waiting, they always bring another person up. And they'll do it until there's like 8 of them. Everybody in the store will be up there checking people out to get people out the door. But if you ever go to a place like Circle K, I don't know if 7-Eleven does this. I know for sure Circle K does this. They don't give a shit if there's 10 of you in line. They'll let that guy stand there and buy scratchers for 30 fucking minutes. They don't care. All right, I'll stop swearing. Right, the wife's out there; she's gonna hear me. But old mechanic quote, and this is what I mean by this is look at this top one. This is the same message both times, and I don't know how many times I've like sent this, over 100 over the years that I've sent this to other engineers or like other like my juniors or like people that I'm training. Just over the years, being a tech lead and a team lead. And the top one, I've been doing Linux professionally for like almost 25 years, and I can't read that top one. So do you think anybody else can read that? I know what that says, or I know what it's supposed to say. I can't read it. I don't even know I wouldn't even know how full the temp. I don't know anything about that right there. But the bottom one is the way it came out of the terminal, the way that you got to see it, and that's the way that you should leave it, in a readable format. This one right here, I actually need to modify this to just have something like this. This one should just be flipping you off, because it's literally not conveying anything to you. It's the antithesis of communication, right? So anyways, this is ridiculous. So Control Byte said you got something on government acronyms and how it impacts communication. Need a glossary just to decipher how. That's true too, Control Byte. That's true. I deal with this in academia as well. Like some of you guys know, I'm working on my PhD, and it's like I'm just doing it to check a box. It's not going to change my career. It's not going to change what I do for the college. I'm still just going to be a college professor. Healthcare is big. But sometimes people care about what's after your name or whatever. But that being said, make sure you have, if this is the way that you want to present things, don't send that to people. You might as well not even send this. Just be like, I forgot to email you back. Leave it in a courier format. Make sure that it's in some kind of block, spacing type format. All right. Then this is a real college student with a real problem, real actual answer. This is a 100% accurate piece of information. I'll explain it here in a second. This is a real one. I actually screenshotted this years ago. They were given the IP address 192.168.5.0. That range with a /24. And they were told to cut it into 2 networks. So if any of you are familiar with fixed length or variable length subnet masking. Actually, they did some variable length subnet masking, but this is just a single /25. That's what this is. So it's a 255, 128, which is a /25. And then that means that the first subnet is 0 to 127, and the second subnet is 128 through 255. Every piece of information up there is correct. If any of you want to get your subnet calculators out and check me, it's right. If any of you want to do it in your head because you've done networking your whole career, it's right. But again, shouldn't you just send them back like go F yourself? Because I don't care to convey the information to you. Because literally, if you put that up on the slide right now, nobody would get anything from that, unless the goal was to show you the mess that it is. In fact, I counted it up before. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 words that aren't then over here that are not cut up in some way. I guess 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 words on here that aren't just jumbled and on different lines and stuff. It's terrible. But it's 100% accurate. But it conveys no information. So again, this is the presenting of data. If you're going to present data to people, do it in a way that they can digest it, right? Then this is one that I think has served me well. Be above reproach. What do I mean by that? Well, in one of our other talks, I tell you guys that engineering is the search for truth, right? And what I mean by that is we deal in truth, right? Like the accuracy of things we say, and if people have to come back and question us or get the information again from a different Linux engineer in the company, they're not going to trust that we know what we're doing, and that's a bad place to be. How's it going, Trevor? Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. We're just reviewing some stuff. I'm mostly telling people about the group and the talks that are coming up, which, again, bunch of talks coming up this weekend. They will be in your time, guys, so you'll see them in my time here, but they'll be in your time if you look them up on your app or your Discord. All right, anyways, but trust but verify. Like, you're going to hear that somebody says that a server is down, and then you're going to be like, well, no, I found the server up, but the service is down. Well, that's different, right? And then now we need to clarify. So we need to sometimes clarify things. We need to trust but verify. If you say something on a call, write something with an email to state some truth or back it up. So like if I were like in a Linux box here, and I were to say, hey, I got here and the werewolf node Rocky 12 was not responding. This is what I saw from the server. Right? Oops. Oh, he's not even in there anymore. Yeah, we don't even have anything defined in there anymore. Well, that's probably why he's not rebooting. Anyways, neither here nor there. I'll get back to working on that later. So, but my point is, I may take this stuff minus the errors and say this is the state I found the system in. This is what I believe the behavior has been caused by. I'm going to go investigate further. And if I'm saying something, I am not just saying off the cuff like, kind of feels like something's wrong with that werewolf server over there. Doesn't help anybody. Dealing with your feelings might work with like therapy, but it's not part of engineering. Like I just can't tell you how many times I've been on calls and people are like, well, this feels like that other problem. And I'm like, oh, what you mean to say is the symptoms are the same. Let's go dig in a little bit. Well, it is similar, but we're in a totally different environment. So it's probably not the same cause over there where somebody put the same IP on a different machine. Let's dig into this a little bit, right? And then we try to dig in and figure out what it is. It's not that other experiences can't inform us, because maybe they do, but it's probably, the talk about feelings is irrelevant in engineering. I try to stress that very early on with like my college students and stuff, that like we deal in precision. We deal in precision of word, precision of thought, precision of action, right? When I type things into here, if I type them wrong, stuff just craps all over the place and doesn't do anything for us, right? So you got to be precise. I'm not talking about like not making mistakes at the command line. There's a equation we always joke around about the more people watching you, the more mistakes you're going to make at the command line. It's 100% true. But anyways, this is it. Yeah, avoid talking about your feelings, what you feel the problem is. That's actually part of what we call anti-methodologies. We want to stay away from anti-methodologies. We need to learn how to do data-based observations, right? When we look at stuff, what's the scope of what we're looking at, right? So like I come over here and I think I'm slick and I'm looking at this and I'm ready to tell people about all the problems today on the server that I've been seeing and all this stuff, not realizing that I'm looking at the last 7 days. The last 7 days versus the last 24 hours is going to give me a totally different message about what's going on in the server, right? Down here. Oh, I do see periods of high load within my environment between 4 a.m. and 8 a.m. But then I remember reading when I first came on the company that's when we do all of our backups and our virus scanning. Do your virus scanning before your backups, right? Little pro tip. Anyways, learn the scope and the scale. This is one I sometimes show you guys. Hold on real quick. If you guys haven't seen me do this in a while, let me show you this. This doesn't take some genius, guys. There's no genius here to worry about. But let's go look here real quick. And these are the total band IPs into P01 Jump 01 in the last 90 days. Look at that nice gradual slope. You guys want to see something funny? Watch this. This is one of the things. There's three types of liars: liars, damned liars, and statisticians. Or show me a statistician and I'll show you a liar. Have you guys ever heard those sayings? Watch this real quick. It looks like 51 to... maybe 52. Look at that. Oh my god, look at that increase we've had, guys. Look at that dramatic increase we've had over the last 90 days. Oh my gosh, look at it. That's terrible. I need to take that to the board right now. We need to have a talk about that. Look at that. Hold on. Maybe even... Oh my gosh. Oh man. The horrors. Oh. Oh my god, I'm having a grabber over here. Having a heart attack. Look at that line. Anyways, my point is the scale and the scope of the things you talk about. Yeah, this calls for an all hands, right? Scott's messing with the data. This data right here is the exact same as this right here. It's just the size and the scale. That's it. So if you ever say like, oh, people aren't manipulating graphs. Oh, you fucking can manipulate a graph. I can make a graph look like almost anything I want. I can't invert it. Like if it's linear positive or logarithmic positive, I can't turn that negative without changing the data, but I can do everything else to make that look like a straight. I can make log look like linear, and I can make linear look like, well, linear is hard to make look like log without like really cheating the data, like you bend the paper. But anyways, my point is, you can misinterpret data too. You can missing the mark is the easiest thing to do. Like I remember, I don't even like, I think it was Matt Serra. I don't even like Matt Serra. He was this MMA fighter. Well, he was actually, he was the guy who knocked out GSP the one time, right? And then immediately got worked over. But I think it was him that said it. He said, don't think like, what did he say? Failure's not an option. He goes, failure's the most readily available option. Failure's always there. Failing is way easier than succeeding by a long shot. My point is, you can misinterpret data all day. That's probably way more misinterpretation of data than there's proper interpretation of data. But you can also make data show the misinterpretation if you want. So that's something to think about. You need to understand, if you're going to ever present data and do any of that kind of stuff, you need to understand mean, median, and mode, as well as what's a distinct outlier. You should probably know at least some of your sigma and what we call standard deviations from the mean, right? And then what a bell curve of like a normal distribution, and then some of your different types of distributions. That would be like the bare minimum that I would tell you to know if you're going to be in data. I don't do data stuff directly, but almost all the things I just mentioned you can pick up in Six Sigma. So if you say, Scott, where would I start with that? Like, I do want to do that. I don't want to be like a Linux engineer like you. That sounds terrible. Okay, then you come here. This will get you started. I'd go to Khan Academy because they'll show you the math. But this right here, the Six Sigma white belt and the Lean Six Sigma white belt have a lot of those topics as they pertain to what we call continuous improvement, CI, continuous improvement. Not to be mistaken with continuous integration, but CI of engineering. There's a whole engineering path you can go into with that if you want to. Yeah. Absolutely. All right, so then we come down here, and then avoid all the anti-methodologies that exist, like the blind man, just changing things at random, flipping switches, right? Didn't work for Morty, not going to work for you guys. Spotlighting is only using tools you're familiar with and being unwilling to read a man page. Guys, I was in an interview one time. This was 2002. I was in an interview, and because Lockheed Martin was closing down the factory out in Phoenix, so I was at an interview, and I remember I pulled up a man page for something. And they go, we've never had anybody open a man page in a Linux technical interview before. And I was like, really? I read man pages all day. I bet you if we did like a history man, I probably have over 30 man pages read just in that one server right there, right? All the time. So, all right. Anyway, so there's that. And then another one is blaming someone else. I always tell people, do not. I would always tell my especially junior engineers, the same guys that would do this crap. I would tell them, do not get on a call and say this looks like networking again. You may be right, and that may be the thing that gets to a resolution quickly. But I'm going to tell you right now, when you need something from that networking team, it's going to be like pulling teeth. We're going to have to go to management to talk to them and shit, because you just can't keep the quiet part quiet or whatever. The man who does not read has no advantage over the man who cannot read. I agree with that, Control Byte. That's true. You know what's actually funny is my wife, my wonderful wife. She can probably hear me. She's just outside walking on her little walking pad. She got a little walking pad out in the hallway, but like it's in like on the landing. But anyways, it's outside of my office. And the other day I mentioned something about a guy named Amerigo Vespucci finding America. And she goes, I just heard about him the other day. I can't believe you knew about him. And I'm like, do you not think, like, of the people you know in this life, like, I don't at least rank somewhere in the intellectuals? Like, I've been a college professor for 17 years but anyways, no, back up a second. We were talking about this. I've been reading Reader's Digest my whole life. We had a Reader's Digest when I was a kid. We always had a subscription to it and stuff, and we were doing the words at the back of it just yesterday. She went and she got the little thing and she did all my answers, and then we saw at the end how we did. And I think of like the 20 words I missed too, but there was maybe one or two that I guessed. I told her I don't count the ones I guessed, so I got like 16 out of 20. But they're always like rare words, like they're rare words that are like not used a lot. And she was like, I can't believe you did so well. I'm like, I grew up with this thing. Like, this is like, I don't know. Anyways, it's kind of funny. But anyways, don't blame other people. But now, by the way, we do have a subscription to Reader's Digest again, which is kind of funny. Because when I went down in January, long story, but I was up in Dayton, Ohio for some work on a supercomputer up there with one of the government agencies we work with. And I got stuck in a blizzard. It was really bad, man. I was like stuck in this blizzard in Dayton, Ohio. It was like the 3rd through like the 7th of January. So that was terrible. Just absolute atrocious weather. In fact, the Monday I couldn't even go in. Like, I flew over the weekend. When I went to fly out, they got hit with another storm. So I got stuck in the airport at Dayton overnight. And you say, well, Scott, what did you do? Why didn't you go to a hotel? Well, they weren't even running the buses out of there. It's such a small airport, they don't even really have buses, but nobody was driving out. So I go to the little guest services, and she's like, well, you could stay here all night, but are you a vet? And I'm like, well, yeah, I'm a vet. And I gave her my little ID or whatever, and she goes, oh, you can actually just stay here overnight. And I was like, stay here overnight? And she's like, yeah, you just go sit back here in the thing, and we got snacks and little drinks and stuff, and you can just do whatever you want. So I just like watched like TV and hung out on their little couches in the back there until the airport opened up the next morning. I mean, you could have stayed in the airport, like, because the airport didn't really close, but it was like blizzard conditions. It was like skeleton crew. It was wild. And then I flew out the next day, and I actually had to get rerouted. It was a nightmare. I got stuck in Atlanta for like 9 hours. And if you guys have ever been to Atlanta airport, it's terrible. It's a really long airport, like multiple terminals in this line, and it's like you can just be on the people movers or the crammed in the subway car that they have. That's just, I'm not gonna do that. So I just like walked the whole way. Anyways, all right, where else am I going with this? As you do this, if you guys ever have heard me talk about being an admin, this is a methodology I learned early on, and I really like it. It is the use methodology: utilization, saturation, and errors of a system. How utilized is something is always, I'm not going to draw. Utilization is always 0 to 100%. How utilized is a service? How free is a service? How much of the service is being used? So for us here on like the Werewolf box, it might be something like, uptime is a way to see it. This thing's sitting here chilling. But some people might use top, right? Just to see how utilized are the CPUs. Not really much, mostly idle. Just sitting here chilling. 3% of the CPU, or 0.3% of the CPU being used, nothing, right? But then when you get to 100% utilization on any one resource, and then like maybe memory or something is completely full, now you start to get saturation, and saturation is where queuing occurs. So a line starts to form waiting for resources. That line forming is queue length, queue time, timeouts start getting hit, errors start to integrate in a system, like if you're doing API calls against something, it's not responding in time, and then you start to get errors. So utilization, saturation, and errors is a very effective, simple methodology to remember about how a system is performing. Now, every time I talk about this, I pull up the same page. If you say, Scott, that's wonderful, but I suck at that stuff, I don't know any of the tools. Well, thankfully, there's a guy named Brendan Gregg right here. This guy's got all the tools. Like, I don't even think you can do this topic or talk about this topic without mentioning this guy. I just linked it to you guys. He's got all of the videos. He's also big on eBPF, and you can go read his different stuff. But you can start to see the different tools that will look at these different pieces of this. And there's a whole bunch of them, and there's write-ups and documentation and stuff. And my point is, you can spend your time and get very fat on all of that knowledge. It's very useful. But at the end of the day, you're looking for things that are high utilization, which is causing saturation and forming queues, or lines as we call them in America. We don't really call them queues here. We call them like a line, like there's a line forming. People will say a queue, you're queued up for something, right? And then as the queues and the queue timers and the call timers and start to time out, we start to get errors. And hopefully they're reported in logs. Hopefully they're easy to spot. But if nothing else, a black hole system is still not responding correctly. And then that's something that we start to investigate as an error, right? So utilization, saturation, and errors, or the use methodology, is a really good one that I like. All right. Office and online etiquette. Oh, I got to write this one, but office and online etiquette was going to be around how you respond to people. In I'm a big fan of like how you end up how often you like look at your Slack and how quickly you respond to it. And my buddy Jared does the same thing as me, in that we don't leave anything ever in our Slack. Like nothing is ever lit up for me ever. I respond to things immediately as they come, and then I go back to what I'm doing. And then by that, I never, and same with emails, I keep my emails clean. And by the way, if I'm gone and I have like a message away, I just take all those 4,000 emails and I make them red. And then anybody that knows that I was coming back that day will send me another email. That's all there is to it. Somebody says, oh, as per my last email, I'll be like, I didn't get your email, or you got my away message and you're the one being obstinate or insubordinate and churlish. Anybody know what that's from? What's that from? Insubordinate and churlish. All right. Guys, I need to get off of here. I was only going to hang out here for a little bit tonight. Let's plan on, I will probably be on a few more times during the week to let you guys know about Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Friday, I may even pop on here to let you guys know that we're streaming and going. And then, and then, guys, it's going to just be action-packed. Like, people are going to be talking all weekend. You can hear different people and all kind. I mean, I have people coming from the military. I have people coming from multiple of the FANG, or what we call MANG now. We got all that stuff going on. So come out. It's all free. And hey, it might be the thing that gets you into doing Linux